Hi, welcome. On this video, I want to do a follow-up by way of the recent remote collar study put forward by those who identify as balanced dog trainers in an attempt to try to reconcile the role of influence within a process which is defined as a learning-based exercise and with shifting focus of dogs, motivating response by way of, again, typically using treats, using a motivating agent, while assuming, okay, that those responses, okay, that are being generated represent that perception of dogs are changing. Okay, understand that's the interpretive narrative, okay, that follows this learning-based idea of things, which understanding which balanced dog trainers have come into agreement with. Okay, and again, when I talk about, okay, the tension, okay, and this is the thing about the role of influence, the tension within that process, okay, by those who identify as balanced dog trainers, that comes out. You'll see that through all these controversies. Again, I encourage you to watch my Flipping the Script series where I go through, I connect all those dots. Okay, the Jeff Gellman bonker situation is a really great example of that confusion, that tension. And in that situation, okay, what you saw there were those who identify as balanced dog trainers piling on to that situation, the controversy, the outcry, the reaction of the dog being startled. Okay, you see that reaction. I talked through that. Okay, the inability to be able to even reconcile certain responses of dogs. Okay, but again, I encourage you to watch the video I did on that where I break that down and connect dots. So I bring that into a process, okay, which brings in those two core ingredients. I talk about influence and control, align those two core ingredients, reconcile those two core ingredients by way, again, of a interaction-based, okay? I talk about interaction-based method, which dog understands intent, dog comes into agreement with. And so understanding, again, in terms of what a process is, I talk about that. But here's the problem with that study, okay, put forward by balanced dog trainers. It's another attempt, okay? It's another attempt to try to basically, with balanced dog trainers, have their cake and eat it too. Understand they're trying to play both sides of the fence. This is where they market themselves, okay, by way of this learning ideology, this learning-based idea of things, where they use clickers. Okay, they use, positive reinforcement. This plays into what's called the 4 quadrants, right? Positive, negative, right? Trying to, firm up, okay, this inherently flawed idea based on its application. And even certain concepts, such as, say, counter conditioning, behavioral adjustment training, okay? The concepts that they also align with, okay? There's a reason for that because, again, they've come into agreement with this ideology, this idea of things. And so, again, the difference with what I'm saying about the role of influence, providing, again, clarity. Okay, I talk about being dialed into the relationship the right way by way of a dog's state of mind. So I talk about behavior. I go beyond that. In fact, that word is not even used in the right context by balanced and force-free trainers. They use that word within the framework of superficial responses, okay? And an attempt to try to firm up this, this idea of things. But the word behavior, when I use the word behavior, I go further. I talk about connect dots. I talk about an express state, okay? Control manifesting, an express state. You see that through as the dogs begin to fixate. So I use that word stinking thinking, okay, as a relationship problem is underway. And again, I always use the parent example. Just consider as a selfish child becomes more and more selfish, behavior issues escalate. Stinking thinking, okay? But again, this goes back to the social aspect of the relationship. That's why I key up on the role of the parent. The critical role the parent plays in the relationship, right? Just think about that. It's no different. Dogs are social animals, okay? It's the same relationship dynamic. It's like a social contract. Depth of relationship, so it's no accident that those who have a higher level of emotional connection with their dog experience the most behavioral issues. I mean, if you look at, you'll see it. Now, one of the things that, again, and this plays into this whole learning-based idea of things based on appearances, based merely on response, is that I talk about the deceptive nature of appearances. Okay, this goes into even the context of agreeableness by way of, certain concepts, how they're applied when a relationship problems are underway. And this plays into, I talk about the themes of bribery, accommodation, negotiation, but it's the same deceptive nature of appearances by way, again, of the parent example. If you were to, as a parent, quarterback certain situations when a child is, not agreeable based on their bad attitude, and you enter into bribery or negotiation, sure, you can gain agreeableness in certain moments, but it doesn't mean you're fixing the relationship. So understand that this transfers over. If you see, concepts, how they're applied, such as counter conditioning, right? And this is why people will just keep investing in these, ideas, even though they're not gaining any sort of traction or movement forward in the perception of dogs actually changing the right way. Because this is also something that's being exploited in the dog training world, is that emotional connection. Okay, so saying, well, I don't want to, bring control into the equation or influence because, and then the reactions, right? Can't reconcile those. You get these high levels of challenge with dogs because there's a stress level down in the dog. And so what it does is it plays into the reason why people will buy into this idea of things, but they never get a better relationship. Okay, it traps them in. And so in the same way, balanced dog trainers are trapped in, okay, by way of trying to frame this up to, again, bring influence in, but they're challenged at all points in that. And this is where all the force-free community will say, well, hold on here a second. This really is highlighted. I encourage you to watch the video put out, the Jamie Penrith Good Morning Britain interview, where it leads up to that. In fact, the people hosting the interviewers, they come out and say, we're not convinced. Okay, so they're listening to the arguments, the information, but it leads right up to that moment where Penrith is challenged as a balanced dog trainer when he's trying to, and again, this plays into this study, saying, well, for some dogs, we show that, dog running out into, traffic, into the street, that for some dogs, for the safety and welfare, see, you try to use that try to encapsulate their argument that way, kind of a catch-all, that for some, dogs, that this is necessary. And the proponent, the person that's against remote collars, based again on this process, confronts Penrith. And rightfully so. Okay, understand that. What do you expect? Saying, hold on a second. They're basically saying, these are my words right now, saying, well, you're in agreement with the same process. But what she says is, hold on a second, we clearly show through training that we can train the dog, right? The process. We can train the dog. We can find something the dog wants, something positive to get the dog to make a different choice. Okay, change focus. Okay, so what I show is that the role of influence is the role of it is to intercept an expressed state, right? So understand, balanced dog trainers, they don't define it that way. Okay, you don't get clarity that way. Okay, they play into, because they put themselves in this trap of this idea of things, and there's no escape. Okay, understand that this is where, and again, if you look at that study put forward by Ivan Belanoff, and and then you go into this at the all the kind of the fine print of the study, I've gone into it, you'll see where they're in that trap. Okay, they can't separate from it. They're talking about basically the same thing, same argument, like for some dogs, right? The predatory nature of the dog, because because there's no depth. Understand, it doesn't connect dots the way I described in terms of how everything filters through. Dogs as social animals, as pack animals, how everything filters through the relationship in terms of your role, just like the role of the parent, right? So this whole thing about predatory drive, that filters through. Yes, that's there, but it becomes, again, it's established through the relationship. So but this is the trap that balanced dog trainers are in. So I encourage you you can look at the study, but understand it changes nothing. Okay, it doesn't clean things up. It doesn't provide clarity. Okay, it's just the same thing that balanced dog trainers have been doing, trying to have their cake and eat it too. But they're in a catch-22 situation. People have to understand that. This is why they're losing their tools. That's already happening. Okay, the positive movement, understand that once you understand what this idea represents at its core, based on how this idea is applied, force-free, those who identify as force-free have the high ground, have the ideological high ground. And so as things move along, it's like the perfect storm that's happening in society. This is why you're seeing all of this stuff happening. So my challenge and my encouragement is to watch my Flipping the Script series. But you have to approach it. And here's the thing. I talk about there's no wiggle room here. Okay, it puts you in a trade-off situation. And it's the same thing I did years ago. Okay, ethically, morally, coming to that point where you say, you know what? The truth is the truth. Let the chips fall where they may. Not even one dog should take the hit because of something we're doing, some idea we're putting out there that's causing a problem. See, and this goes into the ethics of everything. As a individual. So all these statements in the dog training world about, caring about dogs, you can't reconcile those based on what this idea represents, its application. It sets in motion a counterfeit picture for so many dogs and owners within the framework of superficial response. It does not reconcile the role of influence. It does not define what a process represents once a relationship problem is underway. I talk about all of it, but you have to come to the place where you're willing to make that trade-off. Now, understand that many of these trainers, balanced dog trainers, force-free trainers, they're not going to do it, okay? I mean, I'm putting out information, I already know that. This isn't, the information I'm putting out isn't to try to convince those who have already, crossed those lines, already basically been turned over this. When I say turned over, it means that, if you ever wonder why it's so divisive, it's because people have their identities intertwined, okay, in this idea of things. It's how they identify, it's how they define themselves through that relationship. So it's not a good thing, okay? So my encouragement, again, anyone looking at what's going on in the dog training world, you can look at that study, look at the fine print of it, okay? Consider everything I'm saying. I understand it changes nothing, okay? It does not, define, does not provide clarity because, balanced dog trainers, they're in agreement with this idea, this very problematic idea. So again, my encouragement, you watch my series, but you need to come to the place of basically coming to the end of yourself, okay? There's a trade-off. You have to put yourself in a position where let the chips fall where they may. It is what it is, because if you really care about dogs, you really care about getting things, turned around, you'll do it, okay, period. And nothing's hidden. Understand, I put out all the information. You can go through all my videos. In fact, here's the thing about studies. I have a study on my website. It's been there for years, involving over 1,000 dogs and owners. Okay, again, and showing it, the breakdown of this ideology and outcomes. It's right there. But here's the thing, it's not about, information. This is about identity. This goes beyond just evidence. This is why, if you ever wonder why it's such a problem, because even why people continue to support these individuals, because this is a human problem. Understand at the very core of this is all about the human, not in a good way, okay? This should be about depth. This should be about connection. Okay, there's so much here. There's so much. Dogs are amazing animals, and people are really missing out on this. This is really a loss, not just for dogs, but for those who are wanting to go deeper. A deeper bond, to be able to follow the path of nature, to come into the right relationship. All those themes I talk about. So my encouragement, anyone watching my videos, understand that, yeah, it's difficult information, but like I said, you always find the truth right where you left it, okay? It's not going anywhere. This goes right back to Pavlov and Skinner. I wrote a book on this, Mind and Body Connection. I encourage you can check it out. The clue was right at the beginning, with, separating a research assistant out of the study, that was, interfering, that magnet. Social. Understand, dogs were never studied the right way from the beginning. So this study is not a proper study. It just plays into, right, this idea that comes right through behavioralism, layers right up, but it doesn't change anything. It's just another attempt by those who identify as balanced dog trainers to try to work it out. They're trying to reconcile it. You can't. Okay, there has to be a trade-off. Training is not a learning-based exercise. There's the statement right there. There's the qualifier. And so when I make that statement, guess what? It upsets both of these groups for a reason. But then look at all the inherent problems. That's my other encouragement. Look around the dog training world, look through the right lens, and really look at it and line it all up. You're going to see it. So again, training's not a learning-based exercise once a relationship problem is underway. It's an intervention. And it takes a path, again, I talk about an intentional interaction-based method. The motivator's the relationship. Okay, you do not want to be motivating dogs the way these trainers are doing with using treats, because it sets up bringing people into assuming things that aren't true. That's not the standard. Okay, the standard is about the relationship. Okay, it's about dogs seeing you the right way through that relationship. Strength and weakness is defined by way, again, of this social connection. So anyway, again, check out that study if you want, but read the fine print. That's all right there. They can't escape it. There's no way out. They're trying to make it work out. They can't. Thanks for watching.